Alright, so as it is Valentine's Day, and I am a World of Warcraft player, obviously, I don't have anything better to do. So, this guy asked, Josh Oxley, would really like a details window clicked of your damage breakdown for the dungeon and maybe a bit of commentary to go with it for this 28 fortified Throne of the Tides. So, let's do it. As far as the details breakdown is concerned, I don't really have an ability to do that. The run was not logged. I don't have anything else actually to check it, so I couldn't tell you. But if I had to guess, it's probably going to be number one. It's probably going to be number one, Mortal Strike. Number two, Execute. Number three, either the 3, 4, and 5 spots are kind of weird. It's probably a mixture of Thunderous Roar, Dreadnought, and it's probably a mixture of Thunderous Roar, Dreadnought, and Overpower. Number 6 is probably Whirlwind. But this is the build I'm playing, which is the Blade Storm build, but instead of running double Blade Storm, I'm running Warlord's Torment because I prefer more single target damage, and it does give you a little bit of burst inside the window. And one of the reasons why Dreadnought does so much damage is simply because they buffed it by 30%, and when Dreadnought itself gets buffed, and then you're still running talents that buff Overpower, like buffs Overpower, it just does a lot of damage. So as an example, right, with this target dummy, I'll make sure I apply Rend to everything so we have it. So one thing you need to do, or need to consider about Overpower, is the line that you send. You see that line there? That line that you send is based on your position to the mob you're hitting. So if I'm positioned like this and hitting this mob, the line I'm sending is going to go out this way and not hit everything, right? So what I want to do is position this direction so the line I'm sending is going that way. In terms of the sweeping strikes of this, that's going to pick a random nearby target, so I can't really plan on that. So we'll wait for details to reset. We'll wait till we're out of combat and we start draining rage. There we go. And then I'll show you the difference between a single overpower and a whirlwind, right? And this is only on 5 targets. Both of these abilities do damage beyond 5 targets because both of them have the reduced damage beyond 5. So we'll put rend on everything to make sure it's got debuffed. So a single overpower in a pack of 5 like this. Actually, we'll hit overpower and we'll hit whirlwind, right? So a single overpower. Sorry, it's still ticking, so it's being weird. Is doing about... It's doing about 140k, right? 140k. So a single overpower is doing about as much, or about half the damage of a whirlwind. So if you go into a pack, right, and you overpower, whirlwind, overpower, they're going to be doing about, or can do, based on crit RNG, about the same amount of damage. So overpower does a crazy amount of damage, especially in large packs, right? But most of the build is, because you're using Warlord's Torment, what I like to do is when I go into a pack, you get crit off of using your Colossus Smash. So I'll go into a pack, Thunderous Roar, do my Blade Storm, get everything debuffed, get everything buffed up. I will then do this for the crit, then Whirlwind, and then spam my next 2 globals as Overpower. So in doing that, this is the damage breakdown, but you can see Dreadnought, with that buffed up, did as much damage as Whirlwind almost by itself. It actually did more damage with 2 Dreadnought, or 2 Overpower casts over the Whirlwind, right? A lot of that is crit RNG, right, like you saw here. But simply using your Recklessness windows whenever you Colossus Smash will give you a lot of bonus damage. But on to the actual key, right? On to the actual key. For this, when you really play this build, you're still playing priority damage, right? You still want to kill the most dangerous mob in the pack first. So I have a focus macro, which you'll see me use, which I can target anything and it will make it my focus. And then my macros here is if I have a focus, right? This is what this macro does. If I have a focus, I cannot hit kick. Like you see, I can be targeting this. I'm in range of it, but I'm not in range of my focus target. So if I can kick, right, I will not kick unless I'm in range of my focus target, which means I'm not going to miss kicks. Which I think is a very, very useful macro. It's a set focus. It's just a set focus target button and then a focus macro on your kick. I recently started getting it, use it all the time. You see me preset my focus to the caster of the pack, letting my tank get all his damage set up. Also, I received 0 PIs in this dungeon. All of the PIs went to the mage, so I'm waiting for my kick. But everything is grouped up. So I already made a mistake here. Generally, you want to sweeping strikes after you've blade stormed, because while you're blade storming, you're obviously not going to be doing sweeping strikes. And I'm holding my reflect for the crushing depths here. One thing that's really important in these packs is you want to send your well, interestingly enough, like you'll see, so like I've been able to execute this whole time, right? I've been able to execute this whole time, but my priority in big packs like this is going to be sending Mortal Strike with 2 debuffs, Whirlwinding on cooldown, and just sending as many overpowers as I can. Because overpower, when it hits a lot of targets, is going to just do more damage than a single or a cleaved execute. Now that we have Spitefuls out, instead of sending damage on the Spitefuls, I'm using executes to finish off the targets that we have, right? Moving on to this pack. Realistically, all you really want to do with these Ravager packs is you just want to spread from other people. You don't want to stack up and have the Acid Barrage hit everybody. That just sucks. One mistake I make a lot in here is I end up sending. Sometimes I get impatient and I send cooldowns on this guy specifically. These Ravagers have a crazy amount of health, right? A stupid amount of health. Almost too much health, in my opinion. It's one of the things that really roadblocks the dungeon is how much health these mobs have. Especially on Fortified. But I save my cooldowns because we have the pack coming up off of here. I don't remember. I set my focus target once again. It's something you're just going to have to get used to and be proactive with. So once again, we're going into our rotation, roar into Blade Storm. Then I'm going to be sweeping strikes into Colossus Smash, and then just doing all the AoE I can. Anytime I'm getting an execute proc, I'm using that because of how much damage it does. Now I'm getting the reflect and the crushing depths. One thing you can do actually is if you wait to send your reflect on the crushing depths, other mobs can still cast at you. So if you wait until just before, you can guarantee that you're going to reflect the crushing depths instead. I've had multiple times where I'm trying to focus down and kill the sentinel, and another mob is casting at me. And then I reflect what the mob is casting and not the crushing depths. With the depths is way more important. I also swap my target to the other sentinel here instead of the one I initially reflected, because that guy is just going to kill itself over time. There is no reason to add bonus damage to that thing. It is going to do like 4 to 5 million damage to itself. So there's no reason to actually sit there and just chug into it. So we do that, we kill the pack, moving forward. This really depends on what your tank wants to do. A lot of tanks like double pulling this trash, even on Fortified, so it's very dangerous. So just make sure you're LOS. One of the biggest mistakes I made early on in Mythic Plus is just not letting my tank group shit before touching it. Just chill. You'll do the damage when it's all grouped up, when it's good to go. So just chill, do your thing. There is no in this pack. There is nothing specific I need to hold reflect for. So if I see myself getting casted on, I will just pop reflect, even if someone else kicks it. But once again, even though I do have execute and sweeping strikes up, I am prioritizing the rage spent on execute and whirlwind to use overpower. With once again with the dreadnought buff, overpower is just disgusting in terms of just doing damage to the packs. And here we have roadblock number 2. This is a 28, like 50 million health. 50 million health on this mob on a 28. It's just wild, man. Once again, I could send my cooldowns here, but I am saving all of my AoE cooldowns because normally people like to pull either... I think he pulls 3 of the witches into this pull, and this pull is made really easy by a Demon Hunter. Demon Hunters are actually really, really good in this dungeon. So now that we pull, I'll start using my AoE cooldowns. But even though we have these witches here, I'm prioritizing getting kicks and sending single target damage into the Ravager. The Ravager is by far the most dangerous thing in the pack, so instead of trying to get as much AoE damage as possible by sending overpowers over and over again, I am prioritizing single target damage on the Ravager because it is the most important thing to do. This is also why we run 1 minute roar with this build. You saw we had AoE for that pack, and now we're about to also have AoE for the dogs as well, which is very important. The dogs on fortified. The dogs just slap in general, so he pulls everything. So I jump in, set my focus target macro again, and the fun begins. I already got hit with the spell. And this pack, since we weren't set up for it, is already very dangerous. I'm very surprised that this pull actually went as well as it did. It's like he dies, I have some reflect stuff going on, and I just... Oh no, my reflect falls off and then I die. So they actually are able to keep this pull alive somehow. Normally, I think we killed most of the dogs, but normally with packs like this, if you die to them and the dogs are still alive, everyone just gets too many stacks of bleed and they die. Once again, instead of... So you'll see what I do here is instead of actually using my spell reflect to potentially reflect the this, I will actually just use die by the sword to make sure I don't die to the damage because I want to keep my reflect for the sentinel. And because I did that, someone else ends up actually using so someone else ends up kicking it, and then I have reflect for the crushing depths. So reflecting the crushing depths and warrior in this dungeon is actually just insanely good. You're actually able to get a insane amount of value. Like you'll see how much damage I'm doing here in this pack. I'm at 600k DPS. A lot of that is crushing depths. I think the spell itself did like... I wonder if I hover over it. I think it does around 4 mil. It didn't even have a full... didn't have a full thing going on for it. Let me see if I hover over it. Do I hover over it? Killing these, so our healer can drink. Yeah, so here's how ridiculous those Ravager mobs are. On a 28, they have 30 million less health than a boss. Simply too much. They just slow down the dungeon so heavily. I think they need a health nerf. And most of the time, the way I play these focused geysers, these tempests, is I will reflect the first one and then defensive the second one. Same thing here. I could use my cooldowns on the boss, but the ad phase is actually pretty dangerous. So I actually end up saving my cooldowns for the ad phase instead. Same thing here. Same thing here. I am... Did I pre-ignore pain that? Let me see. I should. If I didn't, I'm bad. I didn't. One thing that's also interesting as arms is this shock blast cast that you're going to see go out. I don't remember who it goes on. This spell is considered AoE, so the 10% damage reduction we get from Seasoned Soldier for reduction to AoE damage actually applies to that damage. So in some situations, Arms is actually tankier than Fury when it comes to dealing with AoE damage. But same thing, save cooldowns for the ad phase, kill all the ads as much as you can. Finish the boss, all good. We go to the next boss. It's the same thing. You can knock back the slimes with like whirlwind and stuff, but generally you'll probably have a class that's better at doing it. Monk is good at doing it. Rogue is good at doing it. We're not that great at doing it. I always use my spell reflect for the festering shockwaves because you reduce the amount of burst damage that you get from the hit and the damage afterwards. It's also AoE, so arms takes reduced damage from it. One thing I did learn too, it's not something you should do like on purpose. But Blade Storm does knock these mobs back as well, actually, is what I found in a another test. Kill the boss, go through here. One thing that is fun, you can actually heroic leap down here. There's not like much reason to do it, but it's just kind of fun. Or if you just jump down here and then leap, you don't have to take the bubble. First thing I do is always make sure my focus macro is set up correctly. And then once again, we are just grinding our way through these mobs. There's nothing really special here. Just one thing you don't want to do is don't get dodged into. You can reflect the Mind Flays, but you don't want the grips to pull you into the beam. So like you see that beam there? I don't want to position towards it or near it. I want to position basically on the boss. Something you can do to make sure you dodge these as well is if you're on top of the mob within melee, you can actually straight up not get pulled at all. So you don't have to deal with movement differences. Gonna go do the hallway, pretty standard stuff. Kick the seers, you reflect them if you can. So if you do reflect the Mind Seer channel, it actually does the full channel into the mob, but a lot of people are just used to kicking them because there's nothing else to kick here. So you're generally not going to get a lot of value in terms of damage from reflecting these mobs. Once again, it's all about prio damage here, killing the Watchers, being able to move on, all that good stuff. So this pull that he's about to do is like very suspect. Like I was pretty sure we were the moment I saw what he was doing, I thought we were actually turbo dead. When I saw him move out for this. Because the AoE that these little mobs do is crazy. Like actual a crazy amount of damage. It ended up being like a good call in terms of overall, but like you see, I'm already popping defensives, man. I am already scared shitless of this pack. We don't have a lot of AoE stops. I don't know how much AoE stops he has, but you can see we're just getting absolutely trucked. The key could have instantly bricked right here, in all honesty. The guy even went defensive stance. I am absolutely terrified. This pack on Fortified is so incredibly dangerous, and pulling it in with a mob that makes your healer have to stop casting is just wild. I'm using all the healing I have. Oh my god. I should be using Spell Reflect here too, but I'm not sure how quick he's gonna pull the boss, so I don't want to use it and not have it on the boss. So something interesting I've noticed about a lot of these bosses, I'm wondering if it's true for this one. I mean, we're about to find out, but a lot of bosses that have these reflectable debuffs or something like corrosive infusion from Blight of Galakron and Galakron's Fall is that it seems like they want to hit one of each person that's not the tank, then it's pure random. Um, so you've got about you generally have a 25% chance to reflect it as long as you don't have the dot currently, because it won't cast it on the same person twice. Um, because one thing that can happen is if you actually get targeted by, I've seen it happen before, where if you get targeted by flame shock, it gets dispelled instantly. It has a chance to target you again right after. I've seen multiple deaths to that. Healer getting mana. You'll see me. So this right here as well. This is my ignore pain counter. I have this up when I play arms. This will just let me know when the cooldown is coming up and the ability to soak damage. I try and keep this stacked on this boss because it hurts a lot. I go for the reflect here because I see it already hit somebody else. So that's a mistimed reflect. He actually did hit me, but my reflect fell off. The problem that I did is he cast it about every 6, 7 seconds. So you'll see my mage get hit, 8, and I reflect right about here, which I should have reflected after he spawns the totem. Generally, when he'll do a cast, then he'll cast like the Stone Flurry totem or Earth Fury, and then he'll cast right after. So the mage got hit, I got hit. Next should be either the monk or the shadow priest. The shadow priest got hit, and the next hit should be the monk. No, okay, I guess I'm wrong. He just got it was the monk LOS. No. Okay, I guess it's just random. On this guy, I guess it's pure random. And I'm wrong on the reflecting. The Galakron's fall thing is true for sure, but for this guy, I guess it's random. It's really hard to know exactly how these spells work. So I'm pretty sure he just gets left dead on the floor. But that actually makes it easier for me to reflect because it goes from a 25% chance to a 33% chance. So what I generally like to do on this fight is I will stack ignore pain as much as I can when I don't have reflect up, and then when I have reflect up, I'll try and reflect the See, I barely took any damage there from the application. I soaked 200k damage from the hit. Now, he's about to cast Earth Fury, so I'm going to attempt to reflect this after the Earth Fury cast is over. He ends up not picking me, but unlucky. But other than that, it's pretty standard stuff here in terms of what we're dealing with and doing with the boss. Interestingly enough, this Mind Rot debuff can also be reflected, or there's the random damage going out. So just feel free to send your reflect here whenever. That's like 400k, something like that. Yep. But yeah, you have a. This dungeon's actually very crazy in terms of warrior reflect value. If I had to look at my overall, I'd probably say I've done at least 20 million damage in reflect. If you're practiced, you can reflect the last boss as well, but it's not very advisable. We're just gonna walk past this mob. Once again, so I'm focusing the Sentinel here, but I think in the next pack, what I should do, or how I normally treat these Sentinels, is after they finish casting Swell, you want to send all your AoE to kill the corruptions as fast as possible. So the corruptions aren't up for the next Swell, which now they're not. And the next, in Fortified, the Hunters are the problem. Yeah, you'll see me focusing the Hunters down here for sure. The Hunters are the actual issue in these packs. But once again, it's big AoE, so I am trying to prioritize sending Dreadnoughts and Overpowers. Normally, what I like to do is I try and go to one stack of Overpower, and then I try and send an ability that will bring an Overpower stack back with Tactician. It's how I personally like to do these. But now that we're down to a few mobs, I'm just going to send my stuff single target as normal, yada yada. We're going to do the Sentinel by himself. After the Sentinel Swell cast, we're going to be sending all our AoE. I think we actually get kind of close here to where we have stacks while the Sentinel's about to cast, so I think I pop. Do I go defensive stance? No, so the Monk hit Revival and removed all our stacks, which otherwise that probably would have killed us. This Aquamage pack isn't that bad. You just, especially with the Vengeance Demon Hunter, you just need all its AoE stops are crazy. Once again, this is where Overpower is really going to shine. In these big packs, I try and prioritize. I guess my priority would be two stacks of Overpower. It'd be two stacks of Overpower, Whirlwind, or I guess it would be an Execute proc. So Sudden Death proc, two stacks of Overpower, Whirlwind, Mortal Strike, one stack of Overpower. Is kind of how I like to treat these packs. And then Thunderclap would be last. I use Thunderclap initially to apply Rend, but other than that, I try not to use it. Pretty standard stuff. Kill here. I use my defensives on the overlaps. Use Ignore Pains, Rallies, whatever we need. Something that is interesting, if you are able to kill both of these sentries equally, kind of at the same time, they don't spawn any little globules. And then the last boss, you've seen the last boss. There is reflects you can do here. Like, you can do a decent amount of reflect damage. I probably should have saved my... I thought about saving my cooldowns for the ads, but I wanted to prioritize boss damage because of the timer. Our mage almost dies because he's not positioned by the tank. Since Ignite is just going to spread off of everything, and he's not positioned by the tank, what's going to happen is it's just going to spread. They're all going to go to him, and he almost dies there. Then I think, oh yeah, this one. He doesn't full clear the puddles. Like they actually didn't finish off this puddle here, and he even has it and still doesn't finish it off. So that almost wiped us on this boss. Like, legitimately, that is a cause to potentially wipe. The tank pops his shit and is standing there trying to drop the pools in the good spot. I am hoping to God that I get the next clear so I can deal with this, because the mage really screwed that up. Because if you don't take care of it this time, you also saw someone dropped a puddle back here. Never do that. Never, ever, ever. Never do that. Because it just makes it worse. Never drop a puddle off in the corner. We lucked out. We were able to clear everything. All right, now we're back to our scheduled chilling out, gaming, doing our stuff, right? Now, my position's actually wrong here. If I wanted to position better, I'd be positioned kind of here behind the slimes. That way I'm getting my initial dreadnought hit, the sweepings dreadnought hit, and then everything else. My positioning could have been better. But on fortified keys, I actually really like playing arms because of its overall damage potential. But on tyrannical keys, I generally play fury. Here we have it. Damage is going to be a little tight since we still have the final burn. But and we finish with not much time to spare. I think like 15 seconds. I do already have a bunch of other videos on the way of higher keys that I timed that week. But if I do, I don't know how many more higher keys I'll be able to show. But if I do, I'll try to scroll over my overall and stuff. But here you go, Josh Oxley. Here's your Valentine's Day present. Me talking through Throne of the Tides a little bit. Have a good Valentine's Day, everybody. Stay safe out there. Bye bye.